So can you imagine being in your 60s, your 70s, your 80s, your 90s, you're in the care home and you're getting to go to your hip hop dance class? How amazing would that be? Well, today I've got an extra special guest for you all. We are going to be, or should I say, I am going to be speaking to Charlie Blair today, who is the director of the Blair Academy, and she brings hip hop dance to care homes. So I'm really, really excited to speak to Charlie today. Now, unfortunately, Lorraine can't be with us today. She's got other engagements on. So I said to Charlie, listen, let's just go with it anyway. We'll have fun, just the two of us. It's nice to mix it up a little bit. So for mixing it up a little bit, let's make sure we don't do it as we normally do it, make it a little bit different. And Charlie, let's start off by asking you to share just a little bit about yourself and your background and how the Blair Academy came to be in, because you have shared this story with me and I was blown away by it. I think it's so inspiring and I definitely know the listeners will want to hear it. So let's start with that.
Thanks, Susie. And a big thank you for having me on the podcast. As I said when we first spoke, I just kind of reached out to you guys on Instagram, just kind of on a wing and a prayer, hoping that something might come of it, and it did. So really, really pleased to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm, of course, excited to introduce the work of the Blair Academy to all of your listeners. So the Blair Academy was founded by myself back in June 2018, which seems like such a long time ago now that we've had like the pandemic and everything in between. But we launched back in 2018, and really it's a culmination of my professional and personal experiences. So I'm a hip hop dancer, went to the University of East London and did my degree in urban practice. A few years prior to that, I was homeless as a teen, following years of domestic violence, lived in a YMCA hostel in Walthamstow, where I'm from. And if I'm honest, that was my first kind of like real taste of what loneliness felt like, and to be kind of isolated from your community, even though I was living like where I'd grown up. It was a very strange feeling. So I had that. And then a few years later, whilst I was at uni, I became a carer for the elderly, all through my nan's encouragement. So it is really a culmination of different kind of parts of my life, but my nan is like the driving force behind the idea. So that's why we're called the Blair Academy. We're named after Doreen Blair. I'm not an egomaniac. It's not all about me. But yeah, she was where it all began. So in my last year of uni, she was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, and they gave her an exercise plan to follow kind of alongside her treatment plan, just to try and keep her as healthy as possible. And if I'm honest, she really wasn't fond of the plan that she was given. She didn't like it at all. And my nan was very vocal. So she let everybody know that she didn't like it. And just the dancer in me and the creative in me said, right, let me adapt the plan. I'll make it really fun, Nan. Like the hip hop moves that we do are so fun and energetic. I'll adapt them so that you can do them in a chair. And of course, I was dubious, as she was. She was 67, terminally ill, from Walthamstow, really old-fashioned kind of Cockney lady. We were both dubious about whether she would engage in hip-hop, but when we tried it out in the living room, she absolutely loved it. And it was her then who said, look, there must be other older people that would love to do this. That is so different. I get to learn new things. And she felt really youthful and kind of down with like what the kids were into, which was so lovely. So it was my nan that encouraged me to call care homes, just like nearby to me, and say, look, I've got this idea. I've been doing it with my nan and she loves it. Can I come and try it with your residents? So that's where we started 3.5 years ago, me just on the phone saying, hey, I've got an idea, can I give it a go? And obviously a lot of them just assumed that I'd got the wrong number, really. They were like, what? You want to do hip hop with our residents? I'm like, yeah, honestly. And luckily, there were some that were really forward thinking and innovative themselves and just lapped up the idea. And actually, I'm still in the first ever care home that we delivered a session in. So just goes to show like they really, believed in the concept as much as we did.
That's wonderful. I just love it. I love the story of how it came to be in, and also, and I remember when you told me about the word loneliness, about how it doesn't matter if you're 18 or 80, you can still absolutely um, experience loneliness. And one of the things you don't like, one of the things you want to do is make sure that people don't have to experience that. And so, by bringing dance and fun into a care home, it really does make a difference. And with the Healthy Aging podcast, we're on series 3, which is all about fitness, and everything we've spoke about so far has been about preventative. How do we stay young? But what I love about what you're talking about is actually it is still preventative. Dancing when we're older, it's still about, it doesn't matter if you start it when you're 80, that might actually give you a few more years. It might give you more mobility. And the biggest thing is it's going to make you smile. You're going to have fun with it. And research has shown time and time again that if you have fun and you smile, the chances are that you will live longer. There is an actual thing called laughter therapy. And so, you're doing a combination of so many things there. So we will definitely talk more about it. But what would you say, especially as a young girl, you're in your 20s. I don't think we've had anybody in their 20s on the podcast yet, so that's really exciting. What would you say are your top 3 tips for healthy aging?
So although I'm giving these as my tips, I feel like they're actually a culmination of the advice that I've heard over the years from lots of the older adults that I've had the pleasure to work with. So the first one, I think this one is a given coming from me, is movement. I speak to so many people and they say, just keep moving. For me, it's dance, but for others, it might be going for a walk around the park in the morning, or doing their side steps while they're watching the TV in the afternoon. Whatever it might be that they enjoy and they're able to engage with, they say just keep moving. Like, that is essential to keeping your mind and your body healthy as we age. And I think as well, people kind of underestimate the power of like release through movement, and how over our lives, if you think about all the trauma that we experience over, say, 70, 80, 90 years of living, so much of those experiences get built up in our body, and movement is a great way to therapeutically release those and work through some of the emotions or experiences that you've been holding on to for years. So for me, like, of course, there's that element of like releasing the positive endorphins and feeling good about ourselves and the health benefits that come with movement. But I think as well, on like another layer, is that idea of like working through emotions, experiences, events that we may not be able to vocalize. That was one of the things that made me fall in love with dance, the fact that you could express yourself without saying anything. Like, I was really shy when I was younger, although people don't believe that now. I was super shy, and when I found dance, it was just like, wow, like I get to express myself and let all of this stuff out without even saying anything. And of course, as we get older, we're dealing with people that have got often like a multitude of chronic health conditions, and some of which will impair their ability to communicate with people or vocalize how they are feeling. So I think that element is so important as well, still having like an outlet for your emotions, even if you aren't able to speak to people about them anymore, or you don't want to speak to people about them. So I think movement has to be my first one. Second tip for me is purpose, finding or retaining a sense of purpose. And again, everywhere I go, people tell me about the importance of feeling important, and how it can be something as small as folding the tea towels for the care home in the kitchen in the care home, or assisting one of the other residents out of the chair in the morning. It could be something so small that gives somebody that sense of purpose, and that they've still got meaning to their everyday life, and that they're not just existing and floating by. But I think as well, what's important, as I said, is for some people it will be about finding that purpose, or refinding it, or finding a new purpose. And I think often the assumption is made that as we get older, we're very set in our ways, and we like what we like, and we do what we've always done, and that's that. But with my work, I've found that that's not always true. Like, there are plenty of older people that want to try new things, learn new things, get involved with things that stereotypically people, you know, might go, oh no, I don't think they'd give that a go. So I think, you know, having a sense of purpose, but also finding new ways of giving your life purpose, whether that be through hobbies, or, as I say, having like a role for somebody else. I think that's really important, and it keeps people like grounded in their existence and gives them a bit of like inspiration and kind of a boost to, you know, get up and make it happen every day, because they feel like there's reason behind that. And then my last one would be connection. So I found, and this of course ties into the loneliness thing that we were talking about earlier, the connection between people. And it's not just connection, but it's meaningful connection between people is so integral for me for healthy aging. And I saw that when I used to be a carer, sometimes I'll be the only person that they would see throughout the week, you know, who wasn't a member of their family. Some of them didn't even have family to visit. And I saw how, although the tasks I was doing, like giving medicine and personal care, were really important, what was actually in some ways more important was just the presence of being there and being a listening ear and taking an interest in that person. And we see that so much in our classes. Like, people thrive when we learn their names and we learn how they want to be addressed. Like, some ladies would want to be called love and sweetheart and darling, and others would, you know, completely go nuts if you called them that. They want to be Mrs. Johnson, and that's that. So it's like the small things of like getting to know people and the way that they like to be addressed, the way they like to be treated, you know, the activities they enjoy. So again, not making assumptions about how people want to spend their time, how they want to make connections, and yeah, just creating those opportunities for people to still connect, because aging is definitely an isolating time in itself. We know that as we get older, we lose friends, we lose family members, you know, children, grandchildren move away, they go to uni, everybody, you know, moves on to the kind of next chapter. So I think it's really important, and we saw over the lockdown how important it is to keep those connections alive, whether it's through a phone call or a FaceTime, but just making sure that people feel part of a community or part of a family unit. So those are my three: movement, purpose, and connection.
Love it. They're three brilliant ones, and there's so many things that I can speak to you about with this. And I am going to talk about connection first because I love that one. And actually, I don't think anybody's mentioned that at all. Possibly during the mindset section, but I don't really remember it, or we haven't spoke a lot about it. And even, you know, that thing of remembering somebody's name, whether they're elderly or not. You know, you go to a shop and the shop assistant's got their name badge on and they've served 50 people that day and not one person is addressed them by their name. And then you say to them, oh, thanks very much, Charlie. And they look at you and they smile and it's like, oh my gosh, actually. And we're definitely, I think sometimes we lose that. We're so busy, and it's so important to remember those little things that make such a difference to another human being. And it costs us nothing, and not even time. It's just one little thing, and it's so, so important. And so I'm going to ask you something in your opinion, right? It's funny because I think a lot of people have got a perception or a fear around care homes. Like, don't you be putting me into a care home when I'm older? I hear that a lot, you know, don't you be doing that? And Charlie, I don't know about you, but I think to myself, actually, when I'm older, I don't think I would mind being in a care home, because if I'm in a care home, exactly what you've said, I'm surrounded by other people. I'll feel safe, I'll feel protected. There'll be lots of activities for me to do. I'll have fun. You know, listen, I don't think if I was able to totally look at what my future was going to be like, I'm not saying going into a care home would be one of my choices, but if I had a choice between being on my own and a carer coming in or being in a care home, I think I would choose a care home. And it's interesting that you've done both of them. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think even like in reflecting on my own grandparents, there's this idea of like really clinging on to your independence. And I think that people view still living alone, like in their own home, as part of that. But in fact, I go to so many care homes or like retirement villages or retirement homes where the people are still very much independent. They go out, they do their shopping, they go out with their family, they do the things that they would do if they were living alone. But as you say, when they come home, there is that environment of other people. And I think having the relatability as well between each other and being able to, you know, be around like-minded people that share your interests and experiences is so important. For me, I see why people would like off the cuff say, oh, you know, don't put me into a care home. But I would say that care is a lot more progressive than like it used to be. We've come a long way. I can say that even just from visiting, say, my great grandparents or my great nan was in a care home, and the quality of care, the activities on offer, you know, the expectations around what the older people needed, like they weren't good at all, and we weren't satisfied with her care. And I think now, although the industry remains like underfunded and understaffed and has its struggles, there are so many more forward thinking, innovative, progressive people working in care that really want to see older adults thriving. And for me, I always say, like, my analogy with care is like you've got midwives who like bring life into the world, and then I see myself on like the other end of the scale of like making sure that the last bit of somebody's life is as happy and healthy as possible, whether that's days, weeks, months, years. So I think there are a lot of like younger people coming into care now as well that are just bringing a different approach and trying things that haven't been tried before. So if it was me, I think I'd go into a home as well, but there's definitely a clear like disparity between the two ends of the scale. There are some homes that I go into and I think, oh gosh, like, have you got a room? I'd move in today. This is fantastic. They have spas and gyms and the food smells gorgeous. And I think, yeah, sign me up. Where do I sign? And then there's the other end of the scale where there are some homes that I've been to and I think, oh gosh, I don't even want to leave these people. Like, so it's really hard. And, you know, it depends on your situation, because what I speak to people about a lot is this idea that, well, it's not even an idea, it's what happens in real life. And it makes me really upset that people work their whole lives to pay off their mortgage on their house, and that's the house that they're going to leave to their children as inheritance or what have you, and they end up selling that house to pay for their care until they die. So I think that is a huge part of what comes into people's decision of, oh, don't put me in a care home, because
of course
that, you know, you'll still be able to keep your home and just be cared for in your home, as opposed to having to sell it and move into somewhere. So I think it really depends as well on your financial situation, how you view going into residential care as opposed to having a carer. I would say a lot of the people that I used to support in their homes, they would be quite slow to admit that they needed support. So often we would come in and they say, oh no, I don't need you to do that, just like you know, a bit of washing up or something. You're like, okay. So you start doing the washing up, but then you see that actually they're really struggling in other elements and they do need help with personal care and things like that. So there is a sense of pride as well, and I totally get that. That people don't want to admit that, you know, their body or their mind is failing them in some aspect, or, you know, it isn't doing what it used to do. So I get it, and it's a really hard one. I don't you know, I don't envy anyone that has to make the decision about a loved one going into care, because it's so difficult, especially after the pandemic. You know, so many people now will be trying to stay in their own homes because they don't want to be in a care home where they're not able to see their family for a year.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a really complex argument. But on a social interaction level and feeling supported and part of a community, I'd absolutely go into a home.
And you know, the other thing as well, actually, you hit the nail on the head when you said about people who stay in their own home, they do it because they want to pass that house onto the family. They want to be seen by the family as the fact that they can still cope, etc. Whereas for myself, I don't have children. So, like, in my head, when I'm older, I won't have anything I won't have anything to leave to anybody. I don't need them to be around. And so for me, that's why I would want to do it. My nieces and nephews will listen to this and think, Auntie Susie, we'll be around, But yes, but you forget about these different things in different situations. And it's such a great topic to be able to speak to you about it, because it's not something that I know a lot about. I don't have family that have ended up in care on any type of level, so I don't know much about the industry. I have friends who have definitely gone through it, but I definitely think when we look at, again, those 3 top tips that you said about with healthy aging, purpose is a huge one as well. And purpose can change. When we're younger, we're always searching for our purpose, aren't we? And we're looking for this grand gesture of a purpose, or at least that was always my thing. I was always looking, and sometimes I'm still guilty of that. Like, what's the big grand gesture? Whereas I think when you age, it is something as simple as just making a difference in someone else's life. Okay. And that is huge, absolutely huge, because we can't forget the importance of helping another human being. I actually honestly believe, Charlie, that one of our biggest purposes for every person on this planet is to help other people. And if you do that, it fills you up to such a level that that's what you need, isn't it? It's just,
I do think that's why some of the older people that we work with thrive, because you see, like, they almost take like other people under their wing that are perhaps vulnerable in a different way to them, because they're all vulnerable in one way or another. That's why they're all in residential care. But you see, they like really kind of focus and capitalize on their strengths, and use it to support other people. Like there'll always be a kind of like ringleader that will go round and round everybody up before the class and bring them down, be reminding people the day before, or someone that goes and gets a cup of water for somebody else that can't get up and get it in the class. Or I always see those small moments where, as you say, like just lending a helping hand and being there for someone makes all the difference. And I think as well, like for someone of my generation, I think a lot of these people, especially the women, are used to being caregivers in some capacity, whether they were looking after their husband or they looked after their parents before them, or they've looked after their children or nieces and nephews. I think women were encouraged to, be in the home and be lovely, soft, caring people. So I think that more so in older adults, we do see those women that thrive when they're able to still nurture and look after people, because that's what they've been used to doing, a lot of them. Whereas I think like when the likes of us are in care homes, we'll still be there like answering our emails, and these multifaceted like tech business women will, what they'll do with us in the homes. But I think there's that element of, and you see, even say with the men, you see kind of like replicas of what would happen in like real life outside the care home. So you still see like men gather to play dominoes, or a lot of the homes I go to create like a man's shed, or like a men kind of cave, pub area for the guys. So a lot of them would have been to work in men's clubs and social clubs over the years. They obviously can't do that now. So a lot of the homes, it is about like recreating those kind of experiences that they would have outside the home. And that's always lovely to see, when people are in their element. And I love seeing, it sounds a bit bad, but I love seeing the elderly getting drunk in the care home. I just think this is brilliant. Like I've seen so many like proper knees up where I think this is insane. Like they have cocktail nights, and they have a better social life than I do, a lot of them. So I'm really happy. There's a group as well. I don't know if you've heard of them, the Posh Club. And they do really kind of forward thinking, innovative activities for older adults, like events. And I saw some photos from a night they did recently, and There were lots of male dancers, and lots of the older ladies were very fond of them and getting pictures with them. They were topless, and I thought this is fantastic, because obviously I'm part of this collective that does think, you know, we need to improve the way that we think about entertaining and engaging older people, whether that is through fitness or whether it's through arts and entertainment. Like, we have to move with the times. Like, we're seeing communities in care homes now, or even just out in the community, that are so diverse. You know, it's people from different backgrounds, experiences, walks of life, and we need to make sure that they feel valued, and that their culture, their experience is valued, and they see people like them, and, you know, they feel part of the community still. So I just really love to see like things that kind of just make you turn your head and you're like, they do what with the elderly? Like, because that's how people respond to my work. So I really like it, and I think, you know, we shouldn't be assumptive about what older adults enjoy, because a lot of the time, if you ask them if they want to give it a go, they'll say yeah. Like, they're at the point where they've got no inhibitions, they've got nothing left to lose. They're like, I will definitely go for it. They're a lot more outgoing than some of the young people that I used to work with. So I think that, you know, that's really important, because ultimately the reason that I exist, my company exists, is because of a lot of the dated approaches to entertaining and engaging older adults. You know, my famous example that I'm always giving is Vera Lynn. You know, we love our girl Vera, but it's not, you know, everyday wartime sing-alongs anymore. There's absolutely a time and place for that, but there's also room for other activities. And, you know, it's important to say that we're moving with the times, and we're not keeping people stuck in reminiscence activities, because what's special about our work is that we honor memories, music, experiences from the past. We have that element, but then we have this element of teaching people something brand new. And I think that's where maybe there's a little bit of a missing link, that we've, you know, focused so much on the reminiscing and keeping them where they are, that we haven't thought about how we can progress and bring them forward and find a new sense of purpose and make new connections and learn new things.
Amazing. I think what you're doing is absolutely incredible. I really, really do. And we're going to talk about that next. We're going to talk about movement and a bit more about hip hop dance. But before we do, I need to share a story with you, because it came to mind when you were talking about the people in the care home getting drunk. So I've got a friend, and her mum is in a care home, and she's been in there for a while, and she's always posting pictures up on Facebook of her mum, and it's just so wonderful to see. It's wonderful to see the mother-daughter relationship that they've got, and how, you know, like how she goes into the care home all the time, and it's just pictures of her mum laughing and everything. And I wish I could remember it, but she puts something up on Facebook, and she uses this word, and it's a secret word which actually means alcohol. But it's a type of alcohol I'm going to tell you in a minute. So she'll be like, oh, mum was really good today. She had her coffee, let's say, which we all know it's not coffee. What it actually is Buckfast. Now, you probably don't even know what Buckfast is.
Young
so Buckfast is actually a Scottish alcoholic drink, but it's like, it would be, the people that would drink Buckfast would really be like the younger generation, or people who were looking to get drunk really quick. I mean, this stuff is awful. It's like cough medicine. It's thick, it's heavy, it's red, it's just not nice. And anytime you find anybody that enjoys Buckfast in Scotland, you just have a joke about it, because it's not something that a normal person would drink. Normal person, whatever normal is. And in Scotland they call it Bucky. Oh, I'm going for my bottle of Bucky. And you know, and it's very inexpensive. It's a really cheap drink, so that's why the teenagers would be drinking it, because they could afford it and they would get absolutely wasted on it. And so so she gets a little shot of Bucky most days when her daughter goes in to see her. I think it's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I do, and I think as well, a lot of people have misconceptions about what it's like to live in a care home, because as you say, unless you've put a family member in there, you don't really see. And I think it was quite telling, the Ed Balls documentary that came out recently. he goes into a care home, and his mum is in residential care, and he thought he knew quite a lot about his mum's care. And actually, when he went in and saw for himself what the reality of working in a care home was like, you could see like these light bulb moments. He's like, wow, like that's actually what happens to my mum, or that's what people are doing for my mum. Like, wow. So I think I was having a conversation yesterday actually about the kind of key to like social care reform. And I think it is centered on more people understanding the experience of living in care or having to put a family member in care. Because say like the lockdown, for example, we all had this shared collective experience. So if I say to you, oh, Susie, wasn't that lockdown terrible? He's, oh yeah, I had such a tough time. And we've got that relatability. So if everybody had a better understanding of, what it's actually like to have to put somebody into care or to work in the care industry, everyone that was kind of tapping their saucepans on a Thursday evening or whatever it was, they should get a real insight, as to what carers were doing. Because when I was a carer, it was like £8.24 an hour, and you're doing the most intimate, personal tasks for somebody. And I think, often not even their family members do actually understand what goes on when you go in there. If you're working with somebody that's really confused because they've got dementia. I used to have one lady, bless her, she would always like, I don't want to say attack me, but kind of try and attack me when I was getting her undressed, because I'd be taking her trousers off and she'd say, what are you doing? Why are you trying to take off my trousers? And she'd get so upset with me, and I had to reason with her, and we would get there. In the end, she would be laughing on the bed, and we'd have a little boogie before I left. But I used to think, I wonder if people actually understand what it's like, or to feed somebody that's forgotten how to swallow, or to have to lift somebody off the floor after they've fallen out of bed. Like, these are really personal moments, and I think people just need a bit more insight of what it's like in a care home, like good, bad, and the ugly, like the kind of breadth of entertainment and activities that are available now, alongside the kind of advances that we've had in looking at care plans and treatments and things like that, but then balancing those out with the fact that a lot of homes still are understaffed and underfunded. And it's often a case where it's a great carer having to do their best in the kind of constructs of the industry that they're in. And it's the same with the NHS, so many incredible doctors, nurses that can't do their job to its full potential because they don't have the resources to do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, totally. So let's get a little look at movement then, and let's talk hip hop. How would you describe hip hop to somebody? Like, what is hip hop?
So it's a social dance style that was born back in the Bronx, New York in 1970s. So I like making the point that it's a social dance style because, unlike say ballet, which was done in a dance studio, like a professional setting with certain clothes on and the certain positions, hip hop came out of people actually getting together, socializing, and it was often people that would never ordinarily meet and get together. And it was really the four principles of hip hop are peace, love, unity, and having fun. So I like to just echo that in my sessions. It's about bringing people together that, as I say, wouldn't ordinarily maybe come together, doing something that they wouldn't ordinarily do, but having so much fun in the process. Typically, it's known for really grounded, big, energetic movements, and that's because the music style itself is really percussive. So hip hop dance is just one element of hip hop culture. So there's breaking, which is the dance element. There's MCing, so when people like rap on a mic, they're MCs. Then you've got the DJs. You've also got like the graffiti artists as well. And then there's like the knowledge element where people learn about the depth of the culture and like the socio-historical context. So on a kind of political level, hip hop was born because a lot of the Latin and African American people living in the Bronx at the time were put into the projects. You know, the government were trying to like tidy up New York, and they felt like they didn't belong anymore. They felt like they'd been stripped of their voice. They had no place to express themselves and tell their stories. So that's why hip hop was born. So for me, the synergy was so clear from the beginning, that if I was now working with people that equally like felt marginalized or felt like they've been excluded from their community, hip hop had to be the perfect thing to reach them, because that's what it was born from. So it's a really, you know, politically charged culture. I think the misconception comes with one of the sub genres of hip hop music, which is rap music. And obviously within rap, there's like gangster rap, which is really aggressive in its nature. But still with that, it's very much centered on storytelling and people expressing their reality. You know, they weren't making up these horrific things they were talking about. It was what they were seeing and living and experiencing. So for me, there's still so much power in that element of the culture as well. But as I say, what it was founded on was peace and love and unity, bringing people together, having a good time. And actually, a lot of the battles that happened in the early days were real battles. Like, these people had actual issues with each other in real life, and prior to dance would have probably had a fight or perhaps shot each other. But through battling, they were able to come to the dance floor, battle it out, and that was the end of it. Like, people would kind of kiss and make up at the end, if you like. Be that moment of like, okay, we've had it out on the dance floor, and now we walk away. So hip hop was really instrumental in resolving a lot of the gang conflict that was happening in New York at the time, you know, and bringing people together, as I say, that were really enemies that wouldn't have come together before. So that's what hip hop's all about in a nutshell. But I think the reason that it kind of appeals to people is because it embraces everybody for who they are. It celebrates the things that are different about all of us and what makes us an individual. So I think when learning a dance style as an older adult, it's really comforting, because you don't have to look exactly like me. You don't have to replicate me in the moves. I'm just given a framework, and I let people know that, you know, I still want to see their personality and their flavor and style shine through. It's not just about replicating me and choreography. So I think that's the reason that it's been so kind of widely embraced with our older adults, because it really does like welcome people with open arms. It's like, come as you are. Yeah, a bit older, that's fine. Overweight, fine. Don't look like a conventional pretty woman, fine. We don't care. We love everybody. So I think that's what I really love, is that, you know, it's all accepting, all loving, and just such a laugh. We have such a good time.
That's wonderful. It's obvious that you're very passionate about what you do and that you love it and you're making a difference, and it's just so wonderful to hear that. Now, you do your classes both online and offline because of what happened with COVID. It did force you to come online, but that's probably been quite a good thing, because it means that you can reach more people now. You know, certainly people that are going to listen to this podcast, there will be some in Scotland, and I would really love for people to introduce this to care homes, you know, like as in, so I've got a friend that listens to it and her mum's in a care home, so she allows the manager to hear this podcast so that they can then be like, oh my gosh, we really need to give Charlie a call and get her here. But you can't be physically there because you're down south, but you could be definitely doing online things for them, couldn't you?
Exactly. So as you say, the lockdown mysteriously opened up like this world of opportunity for us. Obviously, when it first hit, I was in sheer panic because we couldn't go into any of our homes, but we managed to get some funding to work on improving what we did digitally, and, you know, live streaming, going onto YouTube, Zoom, all of that good stuff that most of us had to get used to. And as you say, it's now enabled us to have a nationwide reach and be able to work with people across the country, which has been amazing, because, you know, we get to see the impact of what we do spread far and wide. And when you're from London, there's just something really cool about seeing people with like different accents and like the little quirky jokes that they like will say back to me. I'm like, oh, like That's such a local catchphrase to you. I don't know what you're talking about. That's brilliant. I love it. So it's, you know, on a personal level, it's just really insightful. And I feel lucky that my work is able to take me, like just yesterday, I went to Etchingham, near Hastings. And I thought, you know, I've never been here before, and I probably never would have if my work hadn't have taken me there. And I feel really, really lucky to be able to do that. So there are a few ways that people can get involved with us across the country. We do have a DVD service for people that aren't able to access the internet. So we know that there are a lot of care homes that are digitally excluded, or they've got Wi-Fi, but they're in the middle of nowhere and it cuts out every 2 minutes and things like that. So we have got a DVD option that we're able to send out to care homes. And there's some funding behind that as well. So the first copy that people have is free. So if anybody wants to get in touch and get one, they're more than welcome to. We also have our Zoom sessions. So once a week on a Tuesday afternoon, we run a free virtual session on Zoom, which is open to any care home or older person living independently at home that wants to join in. So they're welcome to come along and get involved in like a big group setting. And then we also do one-to-one kind of virtual classes where we are just focusing on that home and their residents and meeting their needs, as opposed to having like 30 different homes on the screen. So we do that. And then in London, Essex, and little bits of Kent, we are doing our face-to-face sessions as well. But I hope that as we grow, we will be able to recruit people across the country who are just as passionate as I am about doing this and get them to go and deliver. Or I'll just have to do a huge tour across the country and get and come and visit you all myself in real life so I can see everyone. But yeah, there are a few ways that people can get involved. We've tried to make it really accessible, and you know, think of everything. Okay, what if this person doesn't have internet? Okay, what if this person, you know, can't afford to book us for a one-to-one session? So yeah, I like to think there's something for everyone in there.
That's just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So how can people find you?
So you can find us, the best place is probably our Instagram, which is at the Blair Academy, all one word. And I say that just because you get to see loads of lovely, heartwarming videos of all of our older adults dancing with us. So Instagram is the best place to really get a feel for what we do and who we are. And then, of course, there's our website, theblairacademy.com. And through there, people can get in touch with me if they want to book or they have any questions about anything that we've got on offer. So there's information on the website about the face-to-face classes, the virtuals, the free Zooms, the DVDs, it's all on there. And then aside from that, we're on YouTube as well. So if ever somebody misses the live class and they still want to show their residents a video, we've got lots of different workouts and dance routines on there that people can get involved with. And in December, watch this space, we'll be launching our new online platform, the BA Box. So that's all about bringing innovative entertainment into care homes, still under our hip hop umbrella. So you'll see me and my team on there doing dance and fitness sessions, chair-based, standing, supported, assisted, but also a variety of singers, musicians, spoken word artists. And it really is about bringing like high caliber performances into the home and like not settling for less just because it's an older person in a care home, but you know, actually thinking, okay, they can't go out to the theatre or to the cinema or to a concert. Let's bring that quality of entertainment to them. So yeah, there's lots of ways that people can get involved, and the BA Box will be on iOS and Android next year as well. So if you're at home and you don't live in a care home, you'll still be able to dance with us.
Fantastic. Honestly, you're doing such amazing things, Charlie. And like from me personally, I just want to say a huge thanks to you for everything that you're doing, because you're making such a difference to so many people out there. And I love the fact, like, I'm all about that saying win-win, you know, so you're getting fulfilled by knowing that you're providing an absolutely incredible service to these people. And then, of course, they're winning hugely because of the service that you are providing. So thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. It's been great to get to know you and find out more. I definitely hope that people will listen to this and contact you. And if anybody does listen to the podcast and you reach out to Charlie, let Charlie know that this is how you found her. You know, you listened to the podcast and you were inspired to reach out to her, because that would be really, really good to know as well. I'm very, very excited about what she's doing, and I just believe that she can help so many other people. And let's just do what we can to get the word out there to as many elderly people as we can. For people that listen to the podcast the first time, you can find us on the podcast platforms. You can find us on Instagram at Healthy Aging Podcast. We also do upload onto YouTube for people that don't have access to the podcast material. So you can watch us on YouTube, but we do prefer that you listen to us. However, look, whatever works for you is great. But on YouTube, again, we're Healthy Aging Podcast. So Charlie, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I really appreciate it. And to all our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in today. Have a great week, everybody.